Bowser!
Welcome back to the Game Store Guy podcast. I'm your host, Kevin, CC Game CEO. So, Bowser is gone. Thank God. I hated that guy. In case you're not aware of what I'm talking about, Bowser was the last name of the guy who was the COO at Nintendo of America. So, basically, the president of Nintendo of America. And he sucked. He was no Reggie. Reggie was actually pretty awesome. And I will say, like, as a smaller retailer, Reggie was super fair to smaller retailers like myself. A lot of people don't realize all Nintendo of America actually does is they are the marketing and distribution for Nintendo of Japan. So they don't really handle the overseeing of the making of the games. They just handle marketing and distribution. So they're basically just a distributor for Nintendo of Japan's products. And the reason Bowser sucked was because he basically just fucked all the small retailers like myself. Really wouldn't give us much product. So the last 5-6 years, especially, you really noticed it with Nintendo Switch 2. It's ridiculous. It's still hard for me to get Switch 2s. I have to get them not direct, or I have to get them like a roundabout ways. I'll have to buy them after they've already went to distributors, and then the price is a little bit higher than it should be. It sucks. It's not fun anymore. Whereas before with Reggie always made them available just as easily to the small retailers as the big retailers, as it should be. It should be fair. Also, look at like some of the stuff that's coming out, like the new Pokemon game that's coming out. They're locking the evolutions behind a paywall. You got to pay an extra $30. It's not cool, man. Nintendo never used to be that way, and I think a lot of it has to do with the decisions of Bowser in control, which is ironic. I think the only reason he got that job partially was because his name, and it would be a cool like story to have Bowser as the head of Nintendo of America. But the dude truly was lived up to his name. He kind of single-handedly implemented a lot of unpopular policies at Nintendo. Now, the new person coming in, it's a woman. Her name's Devin Pritchard, and, I have no clue how she'll be. She's been with Nintendo forever. It seems like the last 20 years or so she's worked for Nintendo. The way I look at it is she can't be any worse than Bowser. I mean, I guess she could, theoretically, but for me, I don't know how it would, for business-wise, how it would be much worse. If anything, at worst case scenario in my mind, she's just as bad. And, oh well. I'm just glad Bowser's gone. I didn't like that guy. I didn't like him at all. He seemed to have priorities that weren't quite aligned with, I think, the Nintendo of old. God, I would have loved it if they just brought Reggie back. But, I was just looking up. Reggie's 64 years old, but Bowser's 60. So, I don't know. And here's the thing. Nintendo... all the people at Nintendo, especially the people in power, are kind of getting older. Unfortunately, some of the people at Nintendo of America, they push the wrong stuff, in my opinion. They're more about DEI policies, and Doug Bowser was one of those people. He had the pronouns in his bio. He was kind of an advocate for that stuff, and I just don't think it belongs in video games. And I know I'll get some hate for that, but your job is to make good video games, and especially at Nintendo, you make video games that they kind of always have stayed away from politics in their video games. Nintendo's kind of the Disney of video games, and you don't need all that crap in there. You just make a good game, just market it to families, make it just make it family friendly, and stay away from politics. And I think that's all you have to do as Nintendo, make a good product for the families. And, I was at a video game convention this week, retro video game convention in Cleveland. It was Cleveland Gaming Classic. It was a blast. And everybody there were like no politics being talked. Everybody there is a gamer. And whether you're on the left or the right or whatever, everybody likes games. So there's a lot of people there that I know I probably disagree with 100% on everything politically, but we're all gamers and we all like games, and especially retro games where none of that crap mattered. So Everybody gets along. It's such a good time. I had fun. I was on, we did really well selling my 3D prints. Did probably double what I expected to do, which is amazing. And I was on a couple live podcasts on the Tech Buzz channel. So if you go look up the Tech Buzz, I was on a couple live podcasts, which was fun. It was good catching up with a lot of people that I run into at conventions. I was talking to a couple other vendors that I've kind of become friends with. And everybody seemed to have a good time. Everybody seemed to do well. I will say this convention is like a little different than some of the other conventions. I don't know how to put my finger or describe why, but it is they go a little bit above and beyond. They do a lot of neat things you don't see at other conventions. Like there were all these little like stages. Like they had a Blockbuster. I guess you'd call them stage, but a Blockbuster area, so it looked like you were in a Blockbuster. They had one where you looked like you were in a Pizza Hut. They had a couple where it looked like you were in a 80s video game room, one where it looked like you were in a 90s video game room. So a lot of little touches like that. And it does the same stuff a lot of the other retro game conventions have. They have panels, they have cosplay contests, they had a big old arcade. And once again, like I always look, is there a Mr. Do? Because that's like my favorite old school game. And there was a Mr. Do. And this is the only second convention I've ever been at that there's been a Mr. Do. And I go up and I try to play it, and the controller is broken. I swear I'm cursed with not being able to play Mr. Do at a convention. And I'm starting to regret selling my Mr. Do. I kind of want to rebuild a Mr. Do one again, because I love that game. But anyway, back to Nintendo and Bowser. Bowser's out. I'm happy. We'll see I guess he's out December 31st. So January 1st, the new lady takes over. I'm hoping she's good. Who knows? The way I look, once again, just can't be worse than Bowser. Screw that guy. I don't like that dude. I'm glad he's gone. So those are my thoughts on Nintendo. What else happened? Microsoft announced the prices of the ROG Ally X, so the Xbox handheld. It's going to be $599 for the base version, and then $999 for the more expensive, probably the better one to get version. I am not getting either. I could care less about a Microsoft handheld, especially that. Like I'm at the point where, like, if I want to play PC games, I'm just gonna get a laptop. I'm not, like, I don't care about holding it in my hand. I know I got the Switch, and the Switch 2. I like that. I like Nintendo's games for the most part. But I have no desire for, like, I have zero interest in this at all. So it'll be interesting to see the interest overall in it. It looks like, they're starting to take pre-orders on it, and it's doing okay. But I would just go laptop. Like, I don't get it. It's not my thing for PC. So anyway, I hope people that were saying the Switch 2 was overpriced. I can't wait to see the contradictions when they say, "Oh, this is fine," but the Switch 2 was way overpriced at $450, and this one's $599 and $999. And I know there's going to be a lot of hypocrites. They were hammering on Nintendo for price, but that $450 price doesn't look too bad now, especially with, like, Xbox increasing the price. The Series X now is going to be $650. That's just ridiculous. And I know they're blaming tariffs, but the way I feel on the whole pricing situation, sure, Microsoft increased the price to $600. They increased it $100, and they blame tariffs, which Microsoft they're the dummies that have all of their distribution or all of the manufacturing coming out of China, and China's getting hit with the tariffs. Now, Nintendo and Sony also have factories in other parts of the world, like Mexico or Vietnam, so they can send those units from the places that aren't getting hammered with tariffs to the United States, and they can keep their prices lower. Whereas Microsoft, 100% of their manufacturing comes out of China, and that's their own fault. Now, I'll give them the first increase to, where they increased it $100, but this last one where they raised it $50, that makes no sense because the tariffs haven't changed. I don't know. I think they're just being greedy, and I think they just kind of want it to increase the price, to be honest, in my opinion. I don't have a problem with that, but, when your system's in third place as it is by a lot, price increase is not going to help. No one's buying Series X's at the moment. They just sit on my shelves. The used ones sell, like if I have them at reasonable prices, but no one's buying a new Series X. Unless you're flush with cash and you just have you don't care. Price is not an object to you. You're rich. No one's buying an Xbox. And the cool thing about all this too, like with the price increases on the modern stuff, and modern stuff being a little bit more expensive, in a weird way, it's actually good for my business because, I sell all these old video games and a lot of them are very reasonably priced. Sure, you got the rare stuff that's, stupid priced. And some of the old Pokemon cartridges are kind of getting out of hand with price. But for the most part, if you want to pick up some old retro games, even if you consider like 360 and PS3 retro, there's a lot of games that are like under $10. There's a lot that are under $5. You can, and they still look really, really good. So, I'm seeing more and more people just start to, say screw modern stuff. And screw all the DLC and where I gotta have a subscription to this service in order to get all the items or whatever. I think gaming peaked with 360 and PS3, and you get a pretty complete product on the disc. Sure, that's when all the bullshit started with DLC and stuff like that. But you can still, there's a lot of games out there that are just great, and you buy it and it's like $10 and you get a full game and you're happy. And you don't need the super high end graphics. A lot of that stuff looked just fine. And I think a lot of families are realizing that, and they're just sticking with the old stuff. So I'm currently getting ready for Retro Fest, which is in Arkansas. That's Retro Rick's convention. Looking forward to it. I got my booth assignment. It's all right. I'm in the back, but it's kind of a smaller convention. But I'm right by the main stage, which is cool. So the stage where they're doing like all the, like the little contests and stuff like that. So I'll be right in front of the stage, which, that's probably a good thing, even though I'm in the back of the convention. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it. Never done this convention before. It's only the second year for this convention. I was talking to some other vendors that have done it in the past, that did it last year. And they said it's a different crowd. It's more of like a family crowd, which is cool. And sure, families don't tend to spend as much. They're there more for the experience. But for what I'm selling like cheaper, little 3D prints and stuff like that. I'll probably do I bet I'll do fairly well. But I always looked at this one as not one to make a ton of money, more of like a networking convention for me to just meet some more people and get my basically put myself out there. Siege was great for that. I met so many people that I wanted to meet, and and it turned into like Siege, for example. I did one of my best. It was my second highest sales I've ever done at a convention. Midwest Gaming was still number one. Siege was number two. To be honest, Cleveland came in like third, real close to Siege, which really shocked me. But it's kind of a good problem to have. It put me in a little bit of a pickle because I'm printing my butt off to get ready for Retrofest because I sold so much stuff at Cleveland, which I didn't expect. But anyway, back to networking. So one of the cool things that happened at Siege, and I talked about it on my last podcast, was the Chase After the Right Price guys. I kind of became pretty good friends with them. And they ended up buying a bunch of my cartridges and stuff over the last month or so, which was fantastic. And it was almost like having another little convention when I didn't have a convention. So anyway, that worked out good. So I'm looking, hopefully, to get more of that where I become more known at these conventions. Anyway, so that's what I'm looking forward to at Retrofest, getting to know more people, more vendors, just kind of networking in general. And looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing Rick's store in person. I've heard it's smaller than it looks on camera, which makes sense. I'm kind of curious to see just how much bigger than my store it is. I'm kind of, I always love to go into other stores, and I always try to find something that they do that they do well that I didn't, something maybe I didn't see or something I don't do, and then implementing it in my store, copying. If there's something good, I love copying other stores, and hopefully I pick up, something that I see there. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to it. The only thing I'm not looking forward to is the drive. It is like a 12-hour drive to Retrofest, but I'm breaking it up about halfway through the drive. I'm going to be stopping at Secret Castle Toys and Games. I met them at Siege as well, and actually before I even met them at Siege, I was kind of friends with them on TikTok and YouTube. And I've talked to them before online, but I never met them in person. Met them in person, great people. I'm going to stop at their store as well on the way just to break up that drive, and it is about almost exactly halfway there. So that'll be a nice little breakup. It'll be interesting to see that store in person too, and just to say hi to them too. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'll probably film that stuff too. So be looking forward to that in the future. I did film some stuff at Cleveland Gaming Classic, not as much as I wanted to because I was a little bit more busy than I thought it would be. But I'm kind of bummed because I went around and I asked a bunch of, like the other YouTubers that were there, like what's their favorite retro game, and I had a YouTuber moment where some of my footage just didn't, it for whatever reason it just screwed up. And one of them was Gamer Aimer. I asked her, and for some reason, all I got was the end of it. Like, it just, I don't know. I don't know if I screwed it up or what happened. But anyway, the footage is ruined. And so I don't have the full amount. So I'll probably do the half and just talk about what happened. But anyway, I'm just rambling here. I'm trying to be, actual YouTube, do an actual YouTube video, like, oh, what's your favorite retro game? Why would you play this one? And of course, I screwed up the footage. So anyway, that's what I got coming in the future. But it was fun. I love going to the conventions, and I love getting out of my store. To be honest, I'm getting tired of so many trade-ins at my store, and it's not like, okay, I'm trying to think how I should say this. So I love when somebody comes in and they have like a couple games. They have like 3 or 4 games and they're looking to trade in and get a new game or whatever. That's fantastic. Or I love when somebody comes in and they have like a bunch of old, like NES games or Genesis games or, old school games. I am getting to absolutely detest when someone brings a giant ass bag of PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, and it's like 80% of them are sports games, and they get mad at you because you don't want them all. And I'm at that point where I can't buy giant collections from people, and it's not because of the money. It's because I have too much crap at my store, and I can't absorb everybody's crappy titles anymore. So like if somebody comes in and they got like 50 games and like 30 of them are just, common trash games that I get all the time, I have to pass on them. I just have too much, and space is becoming an issue. And I have a big store and space is becoming an issue, but I've been open 21 years. So I'm at that point where I can't take the trash anymore. I can only take the good stuff. And some people get mad at that, but it is what it is. I'd rather just say I'm not going to take it than offer you like nothing, or like GameStop will give you like 10 cents on certain things. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say, I can't take it. And some people get mad, and like one lady was like, oh, I thought you were a game store that buys it. I go, I am, and I've been open 21 years and I have too much of this. So I have 20 like copies of this trash ass game that you're trying to sell me. I didn't say trash ass, but you know what I mean. I love getting the retro stuff. I love getting, if somebody comes in and, they got a couple older games and they just want to get one, that's fantastic. It's the people that are waiting for you to open the store, that have like, 3 container boxes full of stuff. And then it's like some of it's just like all dirty and just gross, and I'm getting so burned out on seeing that sort of trade in. But I think that's why I like going to the convention so much, because I'm not doing any trades. I'm not dealing with people, even though I've had people come up to my booth and try to trade me stuff, even though I don't have any games at my booth. Like, oh, would you take this game on trade for this 3D print? I'm like, no, I don't need it. I'm sorry. If it was something really good, I probably would. But people, they'll try to trade trash-ass games at a convention too. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent here. I think that's all I got this week. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'm out.